the US dollar isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And this is literally just to respond to one guy, but one guy represents many, right? The US dollar can't go anywhere because there's no replacement. Like we have right now a world reserve currency, right? 60% of all reserves in the world, all these banks, they have 60% of all the reserves, all of the money in banks. They're in US dollars. China is in trillions of dollars in debt, due in US treasuries, which are dollars. You got 90% of all transactions ever done in the world in a single day. 90% of all transactions done in dollars. So, if there's the idea that people are losing trust in the dollar, that idea might be true, but it's not international and it's not done at a scale that will affect anything. So 90% of all transactions done in dollars now. So then tomorrow or in 5 years, let's say it drops down to 70%. Like, so drop it 20%. That's an unheard of drop. Like if that happened in stocks, that's like the biggest deal ever. And stocks are way more volatile than, you know, the US dollar's like strength on the world economy. So like let's say it even dropped 20%. That's not just a plurality, that's a majority. That's a heavy majority. Imagine a president being voted in with 70% of the votes. That would be unheard of. So if the dollar were to go, what situation would you have to have in order for that to happen? So you got the economic laws. You got Tyr's law and Gresham's law. And I always switch these up because they're the same thing, just opposite. They're mirrored each other. And they complement each other because one can't happen without the other in a way. Right? So Tyr's law is that you can't replace a good currency. You can only replace a bad currency. Sorry. You can only replace a currency with a better currency, right? So that's only going to happen when there's complete loss in faith of the actual currency that's in place right now. So in our case, let's say gold is going to be the better currency. Let's just say BRICS, because BRICS is supposed to be whatever, the God's gift to earth, right? Let's say let's say they're not lying about BRICS, and it is a currency that is backed by gold. If you go like just on our scale, like the normal person scale, the not rich people scale, not the corporation, not countries spending money, but just a dude. Let's say it's you. You go into a restaurant, you get some food, get some steak, some potatoes, you're there with your baddie. She gets whatever she gets, probably eats like a bird. You tip your waitress. All right. She comes up with your bill. Listen, we're doing a new thing. You can spend US dollars like normal. Use your card. Or if you have gold, we'll weigh it. We'll use it. We'll only take what you plan on giving us in weight in gold. You can use either currency. We will take both, or we will take either. But it's up to you. So let us know. So the waitress leaves. And you're talking to your girl. Let's say she knows about economics because she's a weirdo like me. And you're like, oh, what should I spend? I have gold. That would be cool. I could use it. It wouldn't be taxed. That's a big deal, right? Because, you don't get taxed on trading gold. You get taxed if you trade the gold for dollars, right? The capital gains tax. So like, let's say you want to avoid taxes. You consider, avoiding taxes, and you consider the gold. Okay. Even with the mini tax break here in where I live, it's a 6.35% tax on everything, like sales tax, including restaurants. would you spend the gold in order to pay for that meal? Of course not. Of course you're not going to spend the gold because the gold is more valuable. The gold is a better currency. Why would you spend the gold? And so you use US dollars because US dollars is easier to obtain. It's already being used and it's legit. Like, they will trust it. They'll take it. Just throw them the dollars, right? Use the plastic or use the, like, what is it, like 30% cotton and I don't know, whatever dollars are made of. All right, so that's Tears law. Gresham's law, complete opposite. A currency can only be replaced by a worse currency. Same situation. Go to a restaurant, different baddie, different waitress. She comes in, listen, we'll take. I don't even know what's worse than US dollars, because really US dollars is kind of just the worst. But the waitress comes up to you, gives you your bill. She says, look, we're doing something new. You can give us US dollars, or you can give us Chinese yuan, whatever. You're going to end up spending the yuan, which is really just Tears law. I fucked that up. It doesn't work in that situation because, of course, you're going to use the US dollars in the small thing, right? But in terms of use, let's forget that whole analogy with Gresham's law because I totally fucked that up. That's totally my bad, but we're keeping it. We're only 7 minutes in. Oops. But Gresham's law, well, only a bad currency can replace a good currency. This is what happened in the 70s. This is the story of the US dollars. The US dollars, let's say in the 50s, was backed by gold, allegedly. And so what was nice about the US dollars is that it's easy to move. You can get a ton of it, takes less space than gold. It's easy to move, get it out, get it spent. And, you know, you have $10 bill, it's somebody's some guy from a small tribe in the Middle East is telling you that this $10, I have your $10 worth of gold. It's in my bank. It's in my bank. My bank is down the street next to the synagogue where I worship. So you think that you have gold. You have $10. It's as good as gold. Well, eventually the US just lends out way more in US dollars than they have in gold, right? There are many times more US dollars out in circulation than there is gold. And so eventually you just get into a situation where all these countries internationally, they want their gold back. They're like, dude, this was a good run, but I think it's time for us to get our gold back. We don't really trust you anymore. Like, we know that you're lending out way too much. We know that you don't have all the gold. So just give us back what we're owed, and we're cool. Well, they're already stuck in US dollars, right? Britain, they're using US dollars. They do not have the gold, and now they want their gold back. Well, everybody else is using US dollars at this point. Everybody else fell for the trick. They took US dollars instead of gold. They traded it. They created a system that they're already comfortable with. And now they're stuck. The US just says no, right? The US is just like, it's too late, dog. Come take it. Now, everybody's already in US dollars. They're using it every day. It's convenient. It's quick. It's cheap, right? Like, gold takes up a lot of space, is wicked, wicked heavy, and requires a lot of security, right? You need to literally pay people to move it. You need to pay people to trust to hold it. It's a mess. US dollars, it's paper. It's much easier to move around, at least at that time. Now it's digital, so like, whatever. It's not even a consideration as to like the process of moving it. So now all these countries are stuck with US dollars. So all these economies are dependent. They're stuck on US dollars. Every politician wants to keep their spot. So now they have the option. Crash their own economy to get back into gold, in which they'll have to like collect themselves, or keep this bitch rolling. 50 years ago, that was the idea. Everybody just keeps using US dollars. Now US dollars is even more convenient because it's all digitized. And now you're stuck. There's nowhere else you can go. There's only straight. There's no left turn. Can't get back into gold. There's no right turn. You can't use your own currency because there's literally not enough of it. If China wanted to buy oil in yuan, there's literally not enough yuan in circulation to buy enough oil for their own country. But there's unlimited amount of dollars. What's that meme? That bald guy, he was like, well, we have enough money in the banks, but we also have an unlimited amount of money in the Federal Reserve. Unlimited. Print it, get it going. Don't even print it. Press a button and it's there. You take a mortgage out for $450,000. That money did not exist. That money is that like debt that you owe when you take out a loan on a house. That materialized as soon as you signed that dotted line. Those $450,000 were not in circulation before. Now, once you pay it back, then it goes out into circulation, right? So $450,000 in debt is just like a promise to pay by you for the bank that's lending you this money. So you might not trust the US dollar anymore. I might not trust the US dollar anymore. She might not trust the US dollar anymore. But China, Taiwan, Germany, you can name just about every country except like 7 or 8. All those countries are either in debt or are using US dollars heavily, or both, and it's most likely just both. We buy like the US is the consumer of the world. We don't produce anything. We do kind of produce stuff, right? We make aircraft materials, we make war shit. But in terms of how much we import, it's not even close. It's not even worth mentioning the fact that we make things. Because how much we import, not even close. Not even a percentage. We are just consumers in the world stage, right? We produce consumers. We don't produce anything. Again, I know we technically do. But in terms of like world competition, no, we do not produce anything. We just produce consumers. We only get ourselves into endlessly growing debt in order to pay off debt. So China wants to that's not the right word. China wants to buy US treasuries. US treasuries for $1 million. Get that 3%, whatever. I don't even know what the 10-year treasury or whatever that is now. I didn't check. But like, as countries buy more US treasuries, they're just getting deeper into the dependency of the US dollar. There's no way out for China until, like, maybe, potentially, hypothetically, until they pay off all their debt, which is in US dollars, in the trillions. And then maybe they can move on to something else. Not even, because like their currency is backed by a bunch of other currencies. Like like their currency is pegged on like like I don't know the exact percentages, but like it's like 30% in US dollars, and then like 20% in pounds, and then a little bit in this other currency. Like it's just a mess. But like that's kind of how their system works. I was trying to look it up, and it's fucking weird. I don't understand it. But like they still, like, their dollar is still partially just based on the US dollar. Like it's pegged partially to the US dollar. So like, yeah, you might not trust it. I don't trust it. But then it's like, what does that even mean? Because, bro, you're using US dollars. I'm using US dollars. China's using US dollars. Britain's using US dollars. Fucking 80% of all of African countries are using US dollars. India's using US dollars. Taiwan's using US dollars. Australia's using US dollars. Brazil's using US dollars. Chile's using US dollars. Mexico's using US dollars. Canada's using US dollars. I went to a free ski film festival in Canada many years ago. And it was, I don't know, some small city on the east coast of Canada. I spent US dollars the whole time. I didn't see a single Canadian dollar. Where's the US dollar gonna go? Where will the US dollar go? And what's gonna replace it? A better currency? No. There's too much US dollars to replace it with a better currency. Plus, if you have two currencies, one of them's good, one of them's bad, why would you spend the good one? If you have two currencies, one of them good, one of them is bad, and then the other one's the US dollar, why would you use the bad one if everybody takes the US dollar? Who's going to take the bad one? Who's going to take the worst currency? Let's say somebody even does take a worse currency and the US dollar. They would probably still just prefer the US dollar, because then they can just use it easier than you can. Not easier than you can, but they would be able to spend it easier than like the other bad like currency. So like, I don't know. Again, you don't trust the US dollar. I don't trust the US dollar. She doesn't trust the US dollar, but everybody else does. So what are you gonna use? What are you gonna do? Yeah, that's it. Windows are closed. It's fucking like 70 degrees out. It's hot in this car. I'm sweating. So, yeah, you know, you'll figure it out. We all do.